How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today I'm really excited because we're going to be talking about an all-new horror movie, and that is The Nun II. This just came out September 8th, 2023. This is the second Nun movie, but the 9th overall Conjuring film. Really cool to see just how far this franchise has gotten. This movie is directed by Michael Chaves and stars Tiassa Farmiga, Jonas Bloquet, and Reid. The creator of the original Conjuring movie, James Wan, stays on as producer here, so good to see him still involved. Also, James Wan would direct Conjuring 2, which was the first appearance of the nun character. And I guess I should say, right off the bat, I think a good starting point for this review, directed by Michael Chaves in his third Conjuring directing credit. He started off with The Curse of La Llorona, which, to be honest, is one of the more forgettable Conjuring entries. It's not great. His second film, The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, was a step in the right direction. It got a little better. And I'm glad to say that The Nun II is once again an improvement. I really do like seeing this guy every chance he gets, making his films get better and better each time. And this is by far his best Conjuring entry. Now, I should say also that a lot of people weren't a fan of the original Nun. Personally, I did like it. I really liked it was a different feel. It was very gothic, this old school castle and your fun cast of characters going in to defeat the nun, and it got a little bigger and over the top than The Conjuring normally gets. I thought the first Nun was pretty good, and personally, I think this second movie is about on the level with that. But that being said, if you hated the first, I know that this has a lot of things that are definitely technically better, and I think a lot of people that weren't the biggest fans of the first will definitely see this as an improvement on the first Nun movie. It really does a lot right, and one of the biggest things I absolutely loved with this movie was the look of it. This movie has really good cinematography. They actually shot in real old buildings, and the film just eats it up. The textures of all this old stonework just look amazing. The colors are like an old oil painting, and it just, the way the light hits stuff and it goes into all these little pieces. This movie is shot very, very well. Grade A on the cinematography, and that really does play into the scares. The nun is primarily dressed in black with a few white highlights, and they can hide her in the darkness really well. It's not one of those games of find the ghost or anything, but there's definitely a few shots where the camera pans slowly, and then you see the nun and you're like, whoa, how long has she been standing there? And there's some really fun moments. There's moments of more hardcore death than you might think. There's some really fun scare sequences, like the magazine rack that was hinted at in the trailer. That's the full version in the movie. A really, really fun, really cool, visually interesting scene that will definitely go down as one of the highlights of the Conjuring franchise overall. And overall, I thought it was good. Now, that being said, there was definitely room for improvement. The beginning starts off a little bit slow, and I do get you have to set up your characters and get the plot going in the right direction, and I get you don't want to rush into it, but a few of the scares early on are just a little bit too much walking through a dark room, and it takes a minute to really get going. But when the movie finds its feet, and when it goes, and especially when it gets to the end, it really does pick up. And much like the first The Nun, it really does escalate towards the end. It's not afraid to go big and over the top, And I really do like how that is part of the Nun franchise, I guess, is that it does go a little farther than the other Conjuring movies. And I think that's pretty cool. So overall, I'm not saying it's the best Conjuring film or anything, but it's definitely in the upper half. I definitely did like it. And I thought, well, A, it looked really, really cool, but it also had some fun moments, and I think stayed as good as the first, but then again, I will acknowledge I like the first better than most people, and a lot of people are going to say this one's significantly better. Overall, though, really good entry, and I definitely did enjoy it. Without further ado, let's talk a little bit about the plot. I'm not going to do any major spoilers. I know people, especially with new movies, are sensitive to that. I'll talk primarily about setup, and in doing this I can analyze the movie further, but I know it's new. If you don't want to know anything else, feel free to pause it here, go watch the movie, and come back. But again, no major spoilers, but let's dig in a little deeper. Anyway, we open up with Tiassa Farmiga's character, Sister Irene, I believe, and she's living at a nunnery, and actually it's kind of funny, one of the other nuns is telling like a ghost story, and it's actually the first movie, and it really does feel like a Friday the 13th film with all these nuns sitting around and telling the movies previously on. And one thing they say is they don't know what happened to the nun. I mean, the church does, but they don't know that Tiassa Farmiga is the nun from that story, and everyone thinks she went mad, but really, she's just trying to lay low after something big and intense. And she does have another nun friend here, and the friend's character is really interesting because she's a nun, but she's not a particularly religious person. You see, her family was really poor, she didn't have a place to go, so even though she's not religious, the church would take her in, and it's basically, I guess I'm a nun now. And that really did happen in real life, where people weren't super religious, but they were kind of out of options, and this does put her in a different, interesting place when evil does happen. And I thought she was a cool character. I wish they did a little more with her, because at times it did feel like she was the Robin character and didn't have much to do herself. But she was interesting, and I would love to see more from her, especially if we get the Nun 3, go ahead and give her a lot of development. But anyway, they pull Tiassa Farmiga aside and say, we need your help, because there's a series of strange deaths in churches leading from Romania. So Romania in a straight line, a bunch of strange and mysterious deaths, and the church knows the nun is back, and she has to help because she's the only one in the church that fought this nun before. And yeah, I guess I should mention the priest from the first movie. They say that he was honored and allowed to become a bishop, but then died of cholera. So if you're gonna do that whole kill off your character from the last movie between movies, I guess they had a few good things happen to him first. Still, not the biggest fan of this trope. I wish they found some other way to write him out, but whatever. It is what it is. Tiassa Farmiga is now our only hope. And from there, I wish it was more of a globe-trotting adventure. You know, you think, okay, she's gonna be on the hunt for this nun, but really, it takes place primarily at the last haunted location and trying to figure things out and getting creepy visions like the magazine sequence, and eventually figuring out that there's a MacGuffin, which is a little bit of a kind of cheesy plot device of the nuns literally looking for a MacGuffin, but whatever. So she is doing a bit of detective work. There is some fun sequences with these visions, but yeah, not the big globe-trotting adventure I was kind of expecting. And, you know, like, she's the main character, and it's a good part of the movie, but actually, the other side, because this is kind of one of those movies that has, like, two halves that it switches between, and the other side is Frenchie's side of the movie, and I feel that that really has a ton of heart. I've said before, the strength of the Conjuring movies, especially James Wan's original two, is the heart of the franchise. And with Frenchie's scenes, you really do get that. He's not a big, evil, maniacal character. He actually doesn't know that the nun is with him. And in turn, he's completely unknowing of all these creepy things that are going on. So he's innocent, and he's a handyman at this school that used to be a church. They kind of repurposed an old building. And he's the handyman there, and it's like the kids love him. He does his best to be friendly and interact with them. He's getting really close to one of the teachers. Frenchie in the first movie I thought was a really good character, really likable and fun, and they really exemplify that in the second and how he interacts with all these new characters, and in turn, when he's put in danger, and yeah, he is literally possessed and doesn't even know it, you really start to feel for him and his friends. He's the heart of the movie, and the actor really does pull off this part really well. It's a lot of the driving emotion and in turn the fear. And plus, the nun's actually in this segment, so we can do a lot more big and creepy stuff. There's a really good idea here that the main chapel in this school, it got damaged, and it's not a safe place to be in. So it's all chained up, but of course the chain's loose enough the little kids can sneak in. And there's just big crumbling statues and dust everywhere and bits of like scaffolding when they tried to fix it. It is a really good, creepy, dark location, and an interesting excuse why it'd be connected to a school. And I really do like the scares in here. Again, being able to hide the nun because she's so dark, being able to like put her image like, you know, subconsciously in like a patch of mold on the wall, or seeing these big statues with the drapes over them in that shape, mirroring the nun's shape. There's lots of good stuff. There's a fun sequence where the kids are playing this sort of horror game where you have to look into the eyes of this goat at a certain time of day, and if you look away, the devil's gonna come get you. There's some really cool ideas here, and overall, I think it is pretty effective. And we also do introduce some new forms, some new ghost. One is supposedly this ghost of an altar boy that died. A good, creepy little kid character. I won't spoil the second one, but they introduce a new entity in this movie that is really cool and really threatening and scary. I really did think it was ripe for a spin-off. Although that being said, still need to get to that Crooked Man movie, guys. But I really would like to see a spin-off with the second character here. Really, really cool. And overall, there's lots of good moments. Like I said, it was a little slow to start, and also not every scare lands, and there is a bit too much of, you know, the whole walking around dark places tropes, but I did like when the movie finally heated up, you know, not finally, but it did take a minute, and when all the pieces started moving, and again, how big the Nun movies are willing to go, and again, it just looks so nice, the cinematography. So overall, this is definitely in the upper half of the Conjuring movies. I thought it was pretty cool. I definitely recommend it. There's a lot to like in here, and I definitely recommend it. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my 2023 movies playlist, where you can see my reviews for things like the new Scream movie, the new Evil Dead movie, new Insidious movie, The Red Door, just came out, so another James Wan spinoff. If you want to see me talk about more new movies, you can click right here and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.